Hey, Big Al calling civilization. I hope everyone is well. Today you join me here at Caldwell House, a house with a bit of a dark, grim history. Took 17 years to finish and no one ever happily lived in this awesome place that was designed by the rock star architect of the 18th century, Robert Adam, the same guy that designed Dalwarren Castle and Killeen Castle. Now, Killeen Castle obviously has been protected and looked after, but unfortunately this has fell to ruin. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the dark history, so come along and I'll tell you all about it. So this magnificent building was never actually happily lived in by the people that designed and built it. But to understand the history of this building, you have to go back to the 1600s when the Caldwells basically owned this land all about us. And the legend goes that one of the sons of the Caldwell family kidnapped a woman that was betrothed to someone else and kept her prisoner in the Caldwell Tower, which was just over the fields. The story goes that she waited for a rescue that never came and starved to death. So the family of that woman then cursed the firstborn son of anyone who owned this land, and that's where the story gets interesting. Fast forward to 1683, and William Mure owns the lands here, and he's a powerful man, and he stands up to the king quite often. But then he joins the Jacobite rebellion, and he's branded a traitor and sentenced to death. But he managed to save himself by fleeing to exile to Belgium, but his family were left here to face the consequences. So the rest of the Mure family that were left to face the king's men tried to hide by changing the spelling of their second name, but the king's men were no fools, and they eventually found William's wife and eldest daughter and dragged them off to jail. Now, they were reported by an anonymous snitch who basically said that they were having illegal prayer meetings in their home. Imagine being imprisoned for having prayer meetings in your own living room. So there was another younger daughter who never got imprisoned, but unfortunately she fell gravely ill, and Barbara, the wife of William in jail, begged the Privy Council for a couple of hours of freedom just to say goodbye to her daughter, but in an act of unnecessary cruelty, they refused. Imagine being imprisoned for praying and then not allowed to see your dying daughter, all because you've got a different belief. So Jean, the daughter, actually got out a little bit early from prison because she was described as vanishing due to scarlet fever. Her skin had almost gone. And then 3 years later, her mum was released, and they were basically released as beggars. The general had stolen all the land and taken everything, and they had nothing left. Their cattle was gone, everything was gone, all because of the belief in a different religious system, which was quite grim. So basically, Jean was the last daughter and died out, and that line of the Mures completely vanished off the face of the earth. But fast forward to 1690, when William of Orange came to power, and he restored the titles and lands to the Mure family. So it was actually a cousin line of the Mures, William Mure, who bought the land. And because he was a very high-standing citizen, he was a lawyer, he was the friend to the Prime Minister, and he wanted to build an epic building to reflect his status. So who better to hire but Robert Adam, the rock star architect of those days who designed loads of castles to build this place. But unfortunately for William, this is where the curse kicked in, because only 3 years into the build of this place, he was struck down by what was described as gout of the stomach, a horrific internal fire, and he died in agony, never getting to see this place finished. By 1909, all of the Mures were gone. The money was gone, the sons were gone, and this place was passed into the Govan District Board, and the place became a mental asylum. Shortly after that, it became a hospital for damaged children, and unfortunately, one of the employees here was accused of abusing the children. So the hospital closed in 1985, and for 10 years it stood here untouched, basically fully built, until one day in 1995, a mysterious fire started in the upper floors and destroyed the building. Now, there was no power to the building, there was no squatters, there was no reported invaders, and everyone seems to think it was convenient for developers. However, this house has had the last laugh, because this is now a Grade A listed building, which is the highest listed building you can get in Scotland, meaning you can't tear it down, you can't rebuild it unless you spend an absolute fortune and build it how it was before. And every single company that's tried to take this place over has gone bankrupt. So there was one more mysterious thing that happened here when a man was renting this place and he hosted a fox hunt. And they were out hunting in the fields when the dogs were led to chase a black fox, which came to these very grounds and then stood still, and all the dogs ran into an eerie, creepy silence. They wouldn't pursue the fox. Bizarrely, 3 or 4 days after that hunt, all the people involved in it started to mysteriously die under weird circumstances. So they say to this day, if you see the black fox, you're next.